Hi everyone, welcome back to LS Vintage Design. How are you doing today? I hope your day has been amazing. Today we are going to talk about vintage vacations. I have a lot of great information to share with you. I think you're going to be surprised and I think you're going to be ready to book your vintage vacation by the end of this video. So let's just jump into it. Hey Henry. Hey buddy. I love you too. Okay guys, so today we are talking about vintage vacations or antique vacations. How can you have either? I'm going to tell you. And we're going to start with hotels. I don't know if you knew this, but there are a lot of historic hotels across the United States. And of course, overseas, there are a ton of historic options. But we're going to focus in the U.S. this time. And there are, again, multiple historic hotels or even regular hotels that are vintage. If you search for historic hotels on the internet, you will pop up quite a few. And I'm just going to list a few up here for you. And of course, I will put the websites down below in the comments. And I'll put the websites down below in the description. I'm just going to list a few. You can do this search yourself. You can also search themed hotels if you wish. But these are true historic hotels. Ones that have probably been redone but have kept their true personality. Now, there are a lot of sites, a lot of places. There's Friends of the Historic Hotels of America. And you get, for instance, Hotel DuPont in Wilmington, Delaware. Hotel DuPont, just to give you some background. January 15th, 1913 saw the opening of Wilmington's Hotel DuPont, one of the most lavish hotels of America's Gilded Age, an immediate rival to Europe's finest hotels. That's off the site for the hotel. Another hotel is Bear Mountain Inn in New York. Bear Mountain Inn is more rustic looking. The original property opened in 1915. New Orleans has a ton of vintage and antique or historic hotels. Florida. I mean, there are historic hotels across this country. I'll list this website, historichotels.org, and you can go search. So there, that's the first part in planning a vacation, right? Well, I guess the first part's deciding where you're going to go, but we're going to start with hotels. So we found historic hotels. Now, what is the vibe we're going for? Well, that first hotel was very fancy. The Bear Inn was more rustic. It looked like a cabin in Colorado to me. And you have everything in between. You have Best Western Marymount Inn in Cincinnati, Ohio. It looks like a home, but very large. You have the Bienville House in New Orleans. So you have a bunch of different ones. You have the Boone Tavern Hotel of Berea College in Berea, Kentucky. So you have a lot of different options. So, okay, let's say you select your historic hotel. Then what? Well, you're going to want to pack in historic luggage, right? That's the most simple one of all. You can search on Etsy and find examples of historic luggage. You can shop on eBay. Or if you want new but have that repop look, you can even look on Amazon and get a repop look for some vintage luggage. There's a lot of options. And some can look like this or this. So you picked out your style. Oh, and I'll show you the kind when I think of true vintage. I think of trunks because that was the 1900s. You know, they packed in the big trunks. They didn't have the little bags. And this is kind of what I picture. And this is kind of what I picture when I think of vintage luggage. But of course, I love this style of luggage as well. And again, these are repops, but you can find the real thing if you want. But I like this. I like the bright colors. But the first one, this one, was what I really think of because it reminds me of the vintage trunks that, can you imagine having to lug a trunk around to go? There wasn't room. I mean, people at that time were traveling by stagecoach or they were traveling by steamliner. I have to change my battery. We were talking about trunks, those steamer trunks. And there were steamer trunks because you were going on steamships across the ocean. They weren't throwing steamer trunks into their SUVs to go on, family vacations. Okay, so we have picked our hotel. We've got our luggage. Now what? Well, you want to look good, right? You want to be in the outfit. What's your favorite time period? Mine's mid-century modern, but I'm going to pick something with a more distinct style. So I'm going to say 1920s fashion. And you can find some looks from unique vintage. You can find sewing patterns. If you can find sewing patterns, you can probably get a seamstress to custom make you an outfit or two if you want. Again, you can go to vintage resale shops and find vintage fashion. Babe Yond classic vintage style sleeveless dress here. And this is, I'm thinking, let's see. Okay, these are repops, but this would be amazing as a dress to travel in during the summer. It's sleeveless. It looks very comfortable, very breathable, easy travel in a vehicle or on an airplane. So I love that look because back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, when women traveled, they didn't wear sweatpants and sweatsuits to be comfortable. They didn't wear leggings. They were dressed to travel. You've seen the shows where the women are going onto the steamer ship or they're in the airport and they're traveling and they're dressed. We didn't start doing the jogging pants and the leggings and all of that for travel until the 80s, 90s. Okay, so we have a couple of looks. So what else do you need? Well, you're going to want to eat while you're out. Maybe go to a couple of vintage inspired restaurants. Yes, that's a thing. Look up retro restaurants. Retro restaurants, you can pull up places. Of course, there are the classic diners, right? The classic, the red and white with the steel. Those you can find in quite a few places. There's one thing missing from our antique or vintage vacation. What is it? Well, if we've flown anywhere, we're going to need transportation to get around, right? Did you know you can rent vintage cars? Yeah. Now, they're a little pricey, obviously, because, you can rent a vintage 1966 Mustang. Yeah, a 1966 Mustang. You heard me right. In California. That's $315 a day, and you have to be over 30. But come on, if you can afford to have a vintage vacation, you could probably afford at least to rent the vintage Mustang one day, right? I mean, think of all the great pictures and memories. I don't know. I think it would be very cool. Now, And there's other cars in other locations. I saw Bentleys, I saw old trucks. So you can basically find any type of vintage car that you would like to rent as well. Okay, so we're on our vintage vacation and we're doing all this fun stuff because this is preparing, finding the hotel, getting the luggage, finding the outfits, finding restaurants, a car. That's all fun, but what else can you do on your vintage vacation? You can go antique or vintage shopping. Always check out the vintage places wherever you are, because if you find something and you can't pack it in a suitcase and check it at the airport, ship it before you leave. Take it to a local shipper wherever you are and ship it to your home. So definitely antique vintage hunting, because so many places have such good things that, you know, maybe you can't find where you live. What else can you do? Drive-in movies. They're coming back, especially in places that have warmer climates. Sometimes you can find fun things like, if it's fall, maybe a barn dance, maybe a hayride, those kind of things. What else was entertainment back in the day? I don't know. You might have to just look to see what fits where you're going on your vintage vacation. Anyway, guys, that's my ideas for a vintage aesthetic vacation. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget, if you have not yet, hit that subscribe button with that little bell. And leave me a comment down below. Have you ever taken a vintage vacation? Have you ever stayed in a historic hotel? Or rented a vintage car? I'd love to know. Thanks for being here today, guys. On Tuesday, we will be doing something. I don't know. New video on Tuesday. Take care. Bye-bye.